you're an outbound prospector, this is probably going to be the golden age. It's going to be the best next year that you've probably had in a while.
Wow. Right now, everyone's concerned about the new cold calling laws taking place in January 2025. If you're a real estate agent or a wholesaler cold calling to make money, you've probably heard about the new cold calling laws. So in this video, I've brought in the founder of the Enzo Dialer, Angel Garcia. He happens to also run a very large real estate operation and a solar sales operation. So he also heavily relies on cold calling as well. And he's going to be going over exactly how these new laws affect us and our ability to cold call. For those that don't know, what is this new law?
So there's a lot of misunderstandings behind the new law. So the new law, if you're not aware, is that TCPA came out, the FCC and TCPA came out with a new rule that and regulation that says that there's auto dialing restrictions, there's robo dialing, and so on, and then there's a one-on-one opt-in, right? Now those key words have been thrown out a lot in this. In conversations and in questions and out in the internet and stuff like that. And there's a lot of lack of clarity on it from a lot of different people. So let's kind of break it down a little bit, right? First off is like, what is the law and what is the confusion? The common questions that I've been getting on it is like, hey, does this mean that auto dialing is dead and that this and that like cold calling is dead and so on? So those are all very, very, very good questions, right? And we're going to answer them. So first things first is that you got to understand what this rule is coming into place for. This rule came into place and this is per the FCC and TCPA. Now, by the way, for actually to start off with a disclosure, I am not an attorney, right? And this is not legal advice. This is just me reading and interpreting what I've read here. I do have a telecom attorney that specializes in this, that also advised and approved of me jumping on a call to be able to discuss this stuff, as long as I made sure that I disclosed that I'm not an attorney, and that there's other things that you got to keep in mind. There's federal rules, and then there's local government rules. Federal rules is going to be FCC and TCPA. Your local government may have additional rules or laws that could differ from any of the things that we may review on this call. So disclosure over. Any real advice, get it from an actual telecom attorney. But I'll review over what they shared with me. And for the record, I have one of the best telecom attorneys in the business. They're a leader in the space. So
that's awesome.
But I'd share that.
Before you dive into it,
yeah,
are we okay?
In a simple answer, it depends on what you're dialing and who you're dialing. If you are a Enzo Dialer customer that makes calls, you're safe to dial in our system because we are a compliant system. So that let me go ahead and end the anxiety there. Now, first thing
we're good. We're us real estate agents, wholesalers, solar sales guys, we're okay.
Depends on how you dial, right? Depends on how you dial. But the big thing is like this, let me break down what that actually means.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So first things first is let's talk about what this law came into place for. This law came into place to cover a loophole in TCPA. So TCPA came out with a bunch of rules, and FCC came out with a bunch of rules back in the day, right? When it came into place, they were very vague about a lot of things that they would describe. They described auto dialer in a certain way, and they also described robocalls and so on, right? Well, what they're doing is trying to close a loophole. What the loophole is really on opt-ins, right? It actually doesn't, the focus isn't really on auto dialer, robo dialing, and AI pre-recorded voicemail drops and stuff like that. That stuff has actually always been illegal. Auto dialer is illegal. Robo dialing is illegal. AI dialing, which is new, is classified as a robocall, is illegal. Again, based off of my interpretation, right, at the disclosure, but it is illegal. The question is, what is an auto dialer? So if you actually look at the legal term and definition for what an auto dialer is, an auto dialer, based off of what our attorney has shared with us and what the FCC has on their site, must have the capacity to store or produce telephone numbers using a random or sequential number generator to dial those numbers. Right.
Okay.
So what that means is that you have to what an auto dialer is in the eyes of the law, based off of this reading, is that it must generate phone numbers, right? Now, if it's generating phone numbers, that's different than you loading your list and then dialing it. So laws can be a little bit vague on some of this stuff, right? But the way that it reads, that this is an interesting piece of it, right? Because the system itself must be able to generate the phone numbers. That is something that you have to, again, speak to your attorney on, because that part hasn't gotten that part isn't clear, or wasn't part of my questioning. Part of my questioning was, is if you're not loading your own list, the system says that it's you could be at risk, right? You could be at risk and you could be in liability. However, if you load your own list, right, like if you're choosing which list you're calling and stuff, that now does not qualify as an auto dialer per the FCC and stuff. And they have some case law they've already had to go through with Facebook, right? So Facebook clarified that devices must actually generate random or sequential numbers to qualify as auto dialers. Preloaded number systems do not count, right? So like if you're loading the numbers when you're dialing them, that's not an auto dialer, not in the eyes of the law, right? When you say auto dialer, you're usually thinking of your own interpretation of what that auto dialer is. But what the law sees it as is if it's generating numbers randomly. Back in the day, there was systems that would randomly generate phone numbers that would make dials, and those systems were very annoying and just spam, right? Like you're literally just saying, hey, anybody that wants this, anybody that wants this, right? Like to any phone number, you can be calling a child, a mother, a father, or anything else with no relevant information, and now you're just spam, right?
So that means there's three keywords: auto dialer, robo dialer, and AI.
And AI dialing and pre-recorded voice messages. So here's the key. If you're using an auto dialer system, so even if your system has the ability to be able to randomly generate numbers and then call them, you're technically illegal, at least based off of the reading here. And again, I'm not an attorney, get real legal advice, but this is per the information that's been shared with me. And then I'm reading it directly from the FCC, and I'll share this with you. If you're using a system that has the capability of doing it, you're also in liability. And the way that I understood it is that if you're also using something that can do pre-recorded voice messages and stuff like that, you're also in danger and liability when you're calling people that you do not have the permission to call. Now, again, an auto dialer or I should say, like robo dialing, dropped voicemails, pre-recorded voices and stuff on it. If you're using that with people that you've gotten consent to do that with, right? When you get an opt-in, like on someone's website and stuff, you see that little checkbox all the time. That right there now gives you the ability to call somebody if they're on the DNC. If they're not on the DNC, then you were already okay to be able to dial and reach out and solicit to them, right? But if you're calling people on the DNC has always been illegal, right? That hasn't changed, right? Like you're not supposed to reach out to people on DNC. They've put out a public notice saying, hey, I don't want to be reached out to for anything, right? Don't solicit anything to me. So if you're using robo dialing with them, you're in trouble, right? Like,
so define robo dialing. Sounds like auto dialer for Enzo, at least we're good, we're safe. Robo dialing, what is the definition of robo dialing?
Robo dialing is like where you have like a machine that says a certain thing, like press 1 for this, press 2 for this, or is saying, hey, call with this, or calling in mass with a pre-recorded voice saying, hey, we're calling you about your extended car warranty, if you want to sign up or this and that, right? Like it's all that spam. All that stuff, there was a loophole in the past where, let's say, for example, actually, you know what? I have a case study example here. And this is actually in the FCC documents that they shared. So it says, this requirement ensures, right? This new law, this new regulation and requirement for the opt-in is referring to the one-to-one consent. Request ensures that consumers consent only to the sellers they wish to hear from, and will stop the abuses we saw, for example, in Earth Access, where the websites at issue included TCPA consent disclosure, whereby the consumer consented to receive robocalls from marketing partners. You'll see that oftentimes on websites, right? Like, hey, to these marketing partners. So you have, let's say, a marketing company that's a website that, like, for comparison shopping and stuff like that, like, you know, any lead provider out there that, says, hey, if you want to compare different quotes or see what the best rates are out there, just go ahead and sign up here. Like mortgage companies do that a lot, right?
Okay.
And then all of a sudden you get calls from multiple different mortgage companies, and the calls never stop. So they have this disclosure that says you can be reached out to by any marketing partners. Those marketing partners were only visible to the consumer if the consumer clicked on a specific hyperlink to a second website that contained the names of 5,329 entities. So that basically means that people were daisy chaining the right to be able to basically abuse that rule of people opting in to now start hitting them up with robo dials and pre-recorded voices.
So it sounds like, to avoid putting people to sleep with all this jargon, it sounds like as long as you're using Enzo or a similar dialer with as long as you're loading in your lists, not being randomly generated, as long as you're not dropping carpet bombing like pre-recorded messages, having a press 1 to press 2 to whatever, as long as you're not doing those things, it sounds like nothing's really changed for us.
So yeah, this law is not affecting or not attacking you as a prospector, right? What it's doing is it's affecting people that are abusing the opt-in law. So if you were calling leads in opt-in and abusing like robo dialing and a bunch of text messages to a list that you attained from a different marketing company, you've now like that loophole has now been closed. So they're attacking that. Auto dialer has also always been illegal. You can't use auto dialing if you're not using an auto dialer, which is a number generator, not a dialing like something that's making calls for you, right?
Right.
If you're using robo dialing and if you're using pre-recorded voice messages or drop voicemails, you're still practicing stuff illegally. But that was always the case. That never changed, right?
Okay.
You just can't do that with people that you don't have opt-in ability for.
I want to know for you personally, because you're running a large real estate operation, solar sales operation. What are you guys doing differently on your end, if anything at all?
It doesn't change anything for us, right? Because we were always running, for the most part, not for the most part, but we're always being very conscious of like the rules that are out there to be able to follow them. So we don't want to call anything on the DNC, right? We want to stay away from anything in the DNC. You want to stay away from anything that's going to be robocalls, pre-recorded voice messages. We don't use any of that stuff.
Do you not call the DNC, Angel?
Or the DNC.
You think I should make that change?
I mean, if you have any concerns of TCPA, then yeah, I would stay away from the DNC.
All right. If you're telling me to do that, maybe I will.
Yeah. So basically, DNC, basically just there's plenty of business to do when you're practicing business responsibly and running business responsibly. So following the rules just means don't do anything that is silly, right? You have the ability to be able to do great business and a lot of business by using a powerful tool like the Enzo dialer that's just extremely effective and efficient, right? There's no need to do things that you're not supposed to, like a robo dial or drop the voicemails, right? That's basically it.
Okay. So it sounds like there was just a bunch of hype over a fear where nothing really happened to us at the end.
Well, not for prospectors, right? So prospectors looked at it and said, hey, auto dialers are illegal. They've always been illegal, right? But the question is, what is an auto dialer? So that was just a misunderstanding of what an auto dialer is, right? From the prospector's perspective. From the legal perspective, what's changed is that there is a massive change. There is a big, massive change that's happening because it's a very common practice for marketing companies, lead generation companies, that will get consent and then assign that consent to 20 different companies. But the good thing is that the way that it's actually going to benefit you guys, if you guys have been doing outbound prospecting compliantly, you should see an improvement. And the reason is because You're no longer going to have to worry about competing with giant mortgage companies, insurance companies, car warranty companies, people that are dramatically abusing the opt-in loophole, right? Because there's massive companies, big companies, right? Like real estate agents we're small, right? But you go into like large companies like like these publicly traded companies and stuff like that, they're able to use and abuse their right to be able to blow people up, right? You see all the time mortgage companies, they'll blow up someone's phone as soon as they type something in online, and I don't know about you, but I've been harassed like crazy, and they're able to use that same opt-in for like an indefinite amount of time. And now I damn near never want to answer my phone because I'm getting people that are legally calling me by bypassing a loophole. So this loophole cover up that the FCC actually implemented is going to create a new opportunity for people that have been dialing compliantly that are now going to be able to likely get more people to answer their phone because people are not going to get as many bad calls.
Yeah, I assume that's going to take some time for people to redevelop trust in answering phones. But yeah, long term, it sounds like a good thing. Long term, this actually sounds like a great thing.
Basically all it is reduced competition in the marketplace. And then the same thing goes for anybody that's not on this call right now, right? That's not listening to this or not aware of what's actually going on. There's people that legitimately think like, oh, I can't make phone calls anymore. I can't do any outbound prospecting. That's not the case,
Yeah.
right? You're able to operate the same that you have in the past. And then now you potentially, not potentially, but you technically have more opportunity because there's less people occupying someone's phone.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, to summarize, it sounds like nothing's really changing for us.
You're dead in the water if you're getting leads produced by somebody else given to you, right? That then you have something to be worried about. But right, like if you're using a company that's assigning you the right to be able to reach out to somebody, you are in trouble. But if you're not, if you're an outbound prospector, this is probably going to be the golden age. It's going to be the best next year that you've probably had in a while.
Wow, what a statement. That's bold.
I mean, less competition, right? Math adds up.
Okay, cool. Well, great. That clears up a lot. And I'm sure that cleared up a lot for the people watching this. Thank you for hopping on and clarifying, Angel.
My pleasure, man.
Where can people find you?
You can reach out, well, Instagram, or probably Instagram is probably the best, aside from our website, right? Like if anybody's interested in the Enzo dialer for better dialing and more effective and efficient dialing system, go to www.enzodialer.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, Angel Garcia, CEO.
Yeah, and if you follow me, you probably have heard of the Enzo dialer. I've got a whole tutorial on it. I'll link that video in the description below.
One other thing is also that the people should probably be popping into your live calling sessions, because I think those are probably the best thing in the industry.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Angel,
Yeah.
thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.